Welcome to the April 17th meeting of the Environmental Resource Committee. Can we stand and pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item is the amendment and approval of a draft agenda. Before we talk about the agenda, I'd just like to make public that one of the members of our committee passed away on Sunday, and Michael Cassidy, and we will miss him. We could just have a moment of silence. Michael was new to the committee, but we were all excited to work with him. And just take a minute. Okay. Is there anyone that would like to say anything? You don't have to. But...
Well, I know that Michael was on the Green Subcommittee with Mila and me, and we enjoyed working with him. He was such a nice, just a nice guy, good guy. We'll miss him. Mm-hmm.
Michael was a wonderful man, very kind, very intellectual, very interesting, and even we worked with him a very short time. We really, like Candy said, enjoyed it. And when he first came to the meeting in my house, he brought me a plant, and I planted it. It was a little tiny plant, and I looked at it yesterday, and it just exploded. So I leave it there. Good memories of Michael. Mm-hmm.
Okay, the show goes on. Are there any amendments anyone has to the draft agenda? If not, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye. We need to welcome Cindy.
We welcome Cindy.
She's a newbie, Cindy Nelson.
Cindy Nelson
New to us anyway.
To take our minutes for us, which we greatly appreciate. Everyone has tried to do it ourselves, and we know how much fun that is. First item are the meeting minutes from March 20th. Does anyone have any amendments to the meeting minutes? If not, I need a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
And it's approved. At this time, we will take any public comments anyone might have about the agenda that's been published, that's been made public. Okay, we'll move on to old business. And the first item is the Earth Day Arbor Day presentation, preparations. We have Earth Day Arbor Day coming up on Friday. And Amy, can you give us an update?
Hi, everyone. We're going to have a great event on Friday. We've got beautiful weather, so that's the most exciting. We've been in contact with all of the vendors who will be coming. There's 18 of them, and they know which booth they're going to be in, where they can park, all of that. And we'll be there starting at 8 a.m. to start doing setup. I will have the tents and the tables and the tablecloths and anything that you would like copied, or if you need copies of anything for your booths, please just let me know today if possible. I'm going to be at the market all day tomorrow. So I do have the recycling board finished if you wanted to take a look at it after the meeting done. I've got everything all set over there, as well as the copies that you had asked for. Those are all taken care of too. And most exciting is that we have Sea Trail Golf Resorts has agreed to be our generous sponsor for the event, and they are taking care of the plant giveaway. So they will be we'll have a banner there for them and the gazebo to thank them for their kind and generous donation to the program. And I'll be over there handing out plants with Public Works assisting as they are available that day.
Did Matt ever find the materials left over from Sunset at Sunset?
We went up there and I did not find any materials left from Sunset at Sunset. There was a lot of bags, which I have and will be bringing. And I'm going to be using those at the market as well, if that's okay with everyone, as a giveaway. So people can do that instead of taking plastic bags from the vendors. I feel like it'll make it a little bit more of a green event as well.
How about, did we order cups or anything like that?
I have ordered them, but I don't think that they're going to be here in time. I had to wait to find out if we we're getting a sponsor until I could order all of the cups so that I could stay within our budget. And we just found out about the sponsor on Friday. So I went and ordered everything with a 24-hour turnaround. I did get some tracking numbers for the cups, and I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. So maybe we'll luck into it and there'll be a box getting delivered tomorrow. So I did put them on a rush order.
And we ordered the trees and shrubs.
Yes,
and
those
they'll be here.
Yes, Public Works is going up to Leland to pick them up tomorrow.
Okay.
And the plant giveaway will be around the gazebo?
It will be, yeah. We'll put the plants in the gazebo so they'll be shaded during the day. We did have one change. One of the shrubs wasn't available from when he had mentioned it first, so I made a last minute change to a cypress. So we have an Atlantic cypress coming in place of
You
that.
have what coming?
An Atlantic cypress?
A tree instead of a shrub?
Yes, I had to make a on-the-fly decision to
Believe
get the order
me,
put in.
We're having done this last year, and I know Rich had the same problem in the first year.
Yeah.
You know, you're dependent on what the growers have and what
Exactly.
succeeds for them. So
Definitely. So we have all of that, and I've been talking up the plant swap. So hopefully we'll have a good number of
Great.
people who are bringing plants as well as coming to pick up plants.
Great.
So
Okay, now we're going to have 3 tents for the ERC.
correct.
1 tent will be for the
Town.
climate.
And one for the plant swap. So 5 total
Okay.
with 5 tables, 10 chairs. I can bring more. I
So
have
there'll be a recycling booth tent and a climate change tent, and then one for the plant swap.
So green will be in with recycling. I know we had talked about that, but
You'll
now you're
be
saying
able-
5, we've got 5.
we have 5. So I have 1 for the plant swap plus 3 for the ERC.
5
Oh,
tents or?
wow.
I have 5 tents.
Oh,
And one there for the town.
okay.
So one for the town,
Right.
3 for the ERC, 1 for the plant swap.
We feel really important. Thank you.
So we have 5. And I have somebody coming to get all those set up first thing at 8 a.m. So Matt will be over there helping me get that set up.
So they put out any advertising, by the way, on Facebook or anything? or-
I've been
Good.
putting it on the Facebook page. I've put it up twice and I'll put it up one more time. I'll program it to go out Thursday
Okay.
around 4:00. And we also have sent it to all of the outlets. I think that Mila, you had given me those outlets, and we did get a mention in the North Carolina
Coastal
the
Review this
Coastal
morning,
Review
but
this morning.
We were on the Coastal Review this morning.
Yep.
Perfect.
And I did the Smart Yards flyer is published by one of the vendors that's coming, so I asked them to please make sure to bring those with them. So they'll have
I'm
those.
so glad because that's in my list of things I was going to ask you to copy. So-
Yeah, no problem. It's also those are all set.
Will you be here through this meeting, or you'll be
No,
in
I'll
the
be.
office?
I'll stay
after?
for the meeting, and I'll be in
Okay.
my office after.
So we can look at what else we might need to print. Perfect.
Absolutely.
And Amy, I'd like to see the board that I understand you have put together for.
Wonderful. It's
Good.
in the office with all the things that are ready to go down, so we can
Good.
take a look at it after the
Did
meeting.
you use a lot of the stuff I gave you?
I did, and I found some more of my own, so it's nice and full. So it'll look good.
Good, good.
All right.
And
Was
we
there
are so
something in the
glad you're
beacon?
here.
About the event?
I did not see anything in the beacon, but I did not look. I think I have a copy in the that I can look at and see if there's anything in there
Maybe in
from
tomorrow's
last week,
beacon.
but it could be in for tomorrow. So
Yeah.
So, Candace, did you have any of those homegrown national parks brochures that Rich had provided?
I don't think I can take a look in here, but I don't think I have them. I thought I saw emails that you were getting that for him.
We have a brochure that was made up for the homegrown national parks.
Okay.
I thought we had sent that to you.
I thought we had a.
I don't
still
have
had
it
a stamp.
yet.
Okay.
I
will-
haven't, but I can certainly do copies of anything that we
I will
need
send
today.
that to you after the meeting.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'm still looking to see.
Well, you
if
have
I
an electronic copy.
Yeah.
So one thing you can do too on the social media is you could
Do you have that?
put the invite on the Friends of Sunset Beach, Friends of Ocean Isle, Friends of Calabash. So there's literally seen by.
Yes, I can put it on there, and also a lot of them will pick it up as well from our Facebook page. They'll repost it, but I will make
Yeah,
sure
'cause
that it gets
I put
posted
it
on
out
all
there
those.
People can.
Oh,
a month
great.
ago or so, but
One thing, the magnets, they're about 4 1/4 by 11. I know at one time we had 1,000,000 of them. Are they all gone? Finally?
Mine are gone, but you had a bunch of them.
Mine are gone.
Yeah,
Mine-
and I couldn't find any
Okay.
I know at
upstairs.
Sunset, we took, you both brought all that you had, is
Yeah.
what I thought, and we combined it all
Yeah.
there. So if there's none in the boxes upstairs,
I've
there's
got
none.
3 at home, I think.
No,
Yeah.
they're done.
Yeah,
So we'll have to
Oh,
get some
thank
for
the
the
Lord,
next.
yeah, praise God.
Thank the
We'll
Lord.
have to get some for the next event. We won't have
All right.
those by Friday. Okay, are there any other?
All right, I don't, and I
sounds
do
like you've
not
done a
have
great
Steve?
job.
We're looking
Steve,
forward to it.
will
I
will
think
you
it'll be great.
Working
the
with
brochure.
Don on the recycling table? Or-
I can go wherever you want me to go.
Okay,
We'll be doing green, right?
all right.
Twin
So
Lakes.
You're going, what?
Twin Lakes and Green.
We're doing green.
it starts at 10 a.m., so we have to be there between 8 and 9 to get set up. And
This is so you have them.
Michael's viewing
For the
begins
recycling
at
thing, in
3,
case people want more specific
so, but it goes till 5.
information.
So if you would like to participate in that, I think we should have enough time to do everything. It'll be a crazy day, but they're all crazy. Anything else on Earth Day, Arbor Day? Amy, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Looking forward to
thank
it.
you.
Okay. Next item is an update on the Jinks Creek and Tubbs Inlet studies that we have underway. Alan, can you run the first slideshow? We have two
Gosh, I can't see.
guests today from Palm Cove, and you'll recognize a lot of the pictures here.
Smacking me down.
Hmm.
You have to pull your chair over.
Yeah, sorry.
All right.
We've been studying Jinks Creek and Tubbs Inlet since April of last year, so this is our 1-year anniversary. We started out looking at the shoaling that was occurring in Jinks Creek, and as I will allude to as I go through here, we were aware that Tubbs Inlet was moving westward because of the change in the hydraulics that we saw. But in February, Louis Petard, a property owner in Palm Cove, contacted me and shared his concern about the movement toward Sunset Beach. He thought it was occurring at an accelerating rate. And when I looked at it more closely, I sort of agreed with him. So we decided at that point to expand the study to include the movements. And this slideshow will talk about the movement study from 2017 through 2023. This is an aerial photograph of Tubbs Inlet in 2017. And I hope you can see the orange line that goes around the edge of the channel from Jinks Creek into and along the shoreline at Palm Cove. It's interesting to look at this line here in Palm Cove because 2017 was the year that the docks were constructed at Palm Cove. And as you can see, the shoreline came right up to the edge of the gazebo that they have there at the end of their walkway. But as is the case with inlet hazard areas, things change kind of rapidly. So 2 years later, this is the way Tubbs Inlet looked, and the cayenne line shows the outline of the channels. This photograph was taken in February of 2019, and in September of 2018 was when Hurricane Florence visited the area. And the changes that occurred from 17 to 19 occur for a lot of natural reasons, but something special happened with Hurricane Florence, because at this point the inlet seemed to start moving westward. It hasn't moved far by this time, but it had started. There was also a breach in the spit here, where the water was flowing from Jinks Creek or from the inlet directly into Jinks Creek without having to go all the way around the spit. But that breach filled in pretty rapidly. It didn't last for a long time. And that has happened a number of times in the history of Tubbs Inlet. By 2020, the breach had filled in. The channel had moved slightly farther west, and the other interesting thing was that Jinks Creek had been moving eastward. And at this time, this photograph was in June of 2020, and we had Hurricane Isaias visit us in August of 2020. And if you remember Hurricane Isaias, it made landfall in Ocean Isle Beach. So we were on the west side of it, which is the weakest side of the hurricane. But we were getting a lot of wind and rain from the north out of the storm when it made landfall. But it was after that the floodwaters coming down through the channel started eroding the shoreline at Palm Cove. And that was when the first round of sandbags had to be installed there to protect the shoreline. And then we jump to 2023, and here we see the channel, how it's moved farther west, the inlet channel, and how the Jinks Creek has moved farther east, squeezing down the width of the spit. And as Jinks Creek has moved east, I'm sorry, the erosion has moved from the shoreline along Palm Cove to the area east of Palm Cove and has scoured out the shoreline in that area. This is a zoom in on the shoreline, and you can see the difference between the different years. The 2017 is the orange line, 2019 is the cayenne, 2020 is the red. And you can see how the erosion has worn back that shoreline. And once the sandbags were put in, that pretty much stabilized that shoreline, but it didn't stabilize this area. And that has eroded out. And this is from July of 2023. And here we are in April of 2024. And there's continued erosion that's taking place there. And we'll show pictures of that in the next slideshow. But during this period, we had 3 hurricanes. We had Florence in 2018, Isaias in 2020, and Ian in 2022. And you can see from these lines how Jinks Creek has migrated to the east. And this picture is a zoom out on Tubbs Inlet. And again, you can, if you look at the colored pictures, or colored lines, you can see how everything is squeezing in on the spit. One thing that's difficult to see is the angle of the water coming into the inlet, but it's not hard to imagine. But as water's coming in from the right, you can imagine how that scours out the shoreline on that spit. And at the end of last year, from around October through maybe January of this year, water was coming in at a severe angle to the right. And that's when Lewis was concerned about the accelerated erosion. But as is the case with inlets, these oscillate. And as the inlet angle oscillates, of course, the rate of erosion changes. So now we've moved, so we have more of a straight angle of water coming in. And remember, this picture was in July of 2023, and we'll see later on that the angle of the inlet is not straight, but it's a lot straighter than it was at this time. So we're getting less erosion now than we had before. But the other interesting thing is that as time went on, that spit has grown in the northeast direction. And one thing we've made these observations, and we've talked to some of the experts that we know. We've talked to people in North Carolina, Sea Grant. I've talked to a man named Spencer Rogers. Spencer used to be with Sea Grant. He is now on the science panel for the Coastal Resources Commission, and he's become kind of a mentor to me. But he's kind of explained Jinks Creek and told me to imagine it as a meandering stream. And as if you remember back from your high school geography, meandering streams slow down the rate of water flow through a stream. And as that water flow slows down, that could be a contributor to the shoaling that's taken place there. But that meandering occurs on the outflow of water, the water coming into the inlet with the flood tides. When water is coming in to an inlet, when the tide is going up, they call that a flood tide. So that channel that we see is made by the flood tide. And that pushes water through. Most of the water is going up into the area behind Ocean Isle Beach now. But some of it gets diverted and comes around the spit and comes down and crashes into the shoreline at the curve there at the end of Tubbs Inlet. At the end of Palm Cove. And goes across and then goes up North Jinks Creek to the Intercoastal Waterway. So I say this, we share this with everybody so they know what's going on. There may be concerns that migration is going to continue and go all the way through Sunset Beach. We don't believe that's going to happen, but back in history, Sunset Beach was first created with the Jinks Creek Channel and Tubbs Inlet Channel coming through Sunset Beach down in this area. And when they developed Sunset Beach, they put up they dredged out the channel and filled in all this area for all the homes that sit there now. And there's always been people that believe that it's going to go back to its original place. But it's possible, I guess, but it's not likely. But we won't know until we know. But we're going to watch it and we're going to see what's going on. And if we have to take preventative measures, there are some things that can be done. But right now we're in a wait and watch kind of mode. Steve, did I forget anything here?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Okay. So we have erosion of the Jinks Creek shoreline. We have the eastward movement of Jinks Creek. We have the northeast growth of the spit. We have the westward movement of the channel. We've had 3 hurricanes in that time period. It's been a busy place in the last several years. And right now we have a hurricane forecast for this year that's it's getting hyped up, but we'll see what happens. But with with all the things going on in the climate and in the environment, we could have a busy year with hurricanes again, and we have to be ready for it. I don't have pictures of Tubbs Inlet for 2024 because none of them have been published yet. Every year NOAA goes around and they take photographs of the entire east coast of the United States, and then we get to look at those and do all kind of study on them. As soon as they're available, we'll update our studies. We're going to report these observations to town council, and we're recommending that these observations be considered in the engineering design work that'll have to be done for what's been called the Eastern Channel of Jinks Creek Realignment Project, the dredging project that Sunset Beach, the town, is doing with Palm Cove. Alan, can you give me the next slideshow, please? So that showed progress through the middle of last year. What we have now is the work that's been done since then. This cover photograph is from the ocean towards Tubbs Inlet. And by the way, all the photographs you saw, you'll see in this show were provided for us by Mickey Cochran from Ocean Isle Beach. Mickey's been very helpful to volunteer his time and efforts to share his photographs with us. We have a website on the town website for the Jinks Creek Tubbs Inlet studies, and this is the link to that website. The slideshow that I showed you before and this one will be posted on that. They're not there yet, but they will be before too long. So if anybody wants to go back and look at them again, they'll be there. Our most recent images were taken on April 10th, and we'll look at those, but I've selected some other photographs from November, January, February, and March to kind of build up to that. And that'll bring us up pretty much to today's conditions there. This is back in November, and you'll notice that there's some very noticeable erosion through the spit here. It looked like that there might be what's called a breach where the Jinks Creek is connected more directly with Tubbs Inlet, but that breach filled in and disappeared. And they do come and go. This area here seems to be an area that's naturally occurring. And we look back in older photographs we see that this is an area where breaches have occurred before and will probably occur again. We were watching that, and we watched it go away. There are a couple things that we saw in November. We saw these grasses down here along Jenks Creek, and we saw this grass up here at the in the middle of the tidal delta there, before we get into the area that the town dredged. We watched this last summer, but this is an island that's growing there, and the grasses are growing and spreading on that island. And there are other grasses that are growing in this area here. This is that similar view from a different angle. Then we go to January. Here in January, we see how Jenks Creek has migrated to the east and how that has caused a scouring of the shoreline east of Palm Cove. And it has started to get in around behind the sandbags that are there. In February, you see in February that breach area is filling in. It's not nearly as deep as it had been. And if you look close at these grass areas, you see that they're starting to get cut off by the migration of the channel. And if you look at the darkness here, you can see where the high tides have occurred. These photographs are taken, the timing of them is based on the king tides, the lowest of the low tides and the highest of the high tides. So we've gone from a very high tide to a very low tide, and we still see the color from the area that was flooded over in the high tide. One interesting thing we've been watching is as the waters come down here, primarily from low tide to high tide, and they go around that corner, they swirl in this area and they create a pool. They've made a deep hole in the creek in this area, and seen people swimming in there in the summertime because it's a nice swimming hole, and I understand that people have found some pretty good fishing there too from time to time. This is where the channel comes in. The dominant flow of water is in this direction. The secondary flow of water is around the spit and down into the area behind Sunset Beach. And this is the end of that channel down in the ocean. And here we have the primary flow going more straight into the inlet. But you see this channel here, and that's where the flows had come during the wintertime. And that was what we believe was causing the accelerated movement of the Tubbs Inlet. And then in March, you see here in March, we have a much straighter angle of inlet. It's very difficult for us from these photographs to do any measurement of distance, but you know, we think we can see some of the movement, but we can't quantify it. But it's still got a ways to go, so we're not concerned about the safety of the island. Here you see the dark area in the water from the hole that's created, but you see the greater erosion that's occurred that's getting around the sandbanks. And it's my understanding that Palm Cove has been trying to get permitted to make some modifications there, but they haven't had any of those permit requests approved yet. But that's something that we certainly believe should be worked on and continue to be pursued, because once the erosion gets around those sandbags, um, it'll cause much greater problems. This is the area down in the grass along the Jinks Creek shoreline, and this one area of grass still sticks out a little bit, but these other areas of grass are getting washed away in April. So this is the most recent, a more direct inflow of water, the big bend where the erosion is taking place. And back in 2020 and 2022, when the scouring created a deep trough here along the shoreline of those sandbags, that area has remarkably pretty much filled in. At low tide, you can see the bottom there very easily, and but still have to have the sandbags to prevent erosion at high tides. And this goes all the way back to where their docks are. Unfortunately, the shoaling has filled in the area around the docks and has made them pretty difficult to use. This is one of the grass areas on that island that we talked about, and it shows how close that is. The engineers are going to be challenged and how to dredge through there, because that grass is an area that can't be dug out. That's not allowed by permits. As an education, Tubbs Inlet is considered an inlet hazard area, which means it's an area of environmental concern under the CAMA laws. And the current boundaries of the inlet hazard area are this purple area. And this goes back to the area that was originally part of Tubbs Inlet before it was relocated back in the 70s, back in the early 70s. But today, they're re-evaluating what the inlet hazard areas will be. And this was an area that was proposed in 2019 for Sunset Beach. They're currently looking at that again. And it's the last discussion they had online. They had a WebEx call online I listened into. It's going to pretty much be the same area, except this line here might come over to the corner of this property there where the sandbags butt up against the bulkheads. But it's pretty much the same. The significance of inlet hazard areas is that they have very strict development rules on what can be done, what can't be done. And the only thing that they allow for erosion control are sandbags. Living shorelines, sills, and things like that could be done in other areas, other coastal areas, are not allowed here because the experience is they just don't work. They don't hold up. But okay, that's it. Any questions from the committee on this?
Just, I'm thinking where you're describing shoaling around the docks, is there any thought that the docks are contributing, either helping by causing shoaling and maybe sand's accumulating there, or changing the course of the current, or
When
just was interesting to see that. And if you can't use them, would it help to move them, or
well,
I guess unknown at this time?
it's pretty much unknown. That when we started this a year ago, the fishing community we talked to had told us that the shoaling really sort of accelerated after the docks were built.
Mhm.
But the docks are under permits from the Coastal Resources
Yeah.
Commission. And that pretty much means that the only ones that can make decisions like that are the property owners at Palm Cove. I don't know what their expectations are for the future, but we'll just have to kind of wait and see
I'm sure the engineers would look at all of that.
what can be done. Yeah, what the engineers feels necessary
Yeah.
to get things done and what the property owners of Palm Cove want to do. But right now, that area has very limited navigation, not just because of the docks, but because of the shoaling that's in there.
Mhm.
We have about 6 hours from high tide to low tide, and that navigation through there is pretty limited for about 3 of those 6 hours every day, every tide cycle. So that's something that will have to be studied as part of the project that's coming up.
It's a great work that you guys are doing. Thank you.
Well, we've had fun.
It's interesting for a couple of nerds like us, I guess.
Steve, I am a mechanical engineer, but I'm not a coastal engineer. Steve is a marine biologist and environmentalist, and
Not a coastal engineer.
he's not an engineer, he's a scientist. So we've kind of counterbalanced each other here in our studies. And
Well, I'm not an engineer either, so.
I will say that we've been asked by Louis Petard to allow him to participate in our studies, and we've started doing that. And we have 2 people from Palm Cove here today, Jill and Cindy. You want to raise your hands, please? There, thank you.
All right.
And after this meeting, Steve and I are going to have a small meeting with them to answer questions they have. And the town has entered into an agreement with Palm Cove to try to do this dredging project, and the application for the dredging grant was submitted on Friday last week. So that project is off and running. Okay. Next item of business is new business. The amended ERC rules and responsibilities. In the packet that you were sent are changes to the rules and responsibilities for what we do. ERC is a committee of residents of Sunset Beach who have been appointed by town council to study issues and provide them with advice. The big changes this was written originally in 2019 and has been updated, amended as of the April council meeting. The big change that was made in the minutes or in the rules was to allow us to work with non-resident taxpayers in our activities. We had started doing that with some non-resident taxpayers, but we got it officially incorporated into the rules and responsibilities now. So that allows us to work with people like Louis and people like John Wells. John, his family have been long time property owners in Sunset Beach, and John lives in Tampa, and John lives in Tampa and has done a lot of drone photography for us, as well as Mickey. Mickey's not a non-resident taxpayer of Sunset Beach, but we consider him to be a drone photography expert, which meets the rules.
John, I've got a question. And let me say, up front, I was married to a former journalist for 30 years, so that's why I kind of nitpick here. But non-resident taxpayer, that sounds kind of exclusionary to me, not to be too picky. If somebody came in with some expertise that wasn't a property owner here, you couldn't work with them?
If they are an expert, then we can work with them.
Okay, so,
The rules say experts or non-resident taxpayers.
And residents.
Yeah.
And residents.
And residents.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Just
Now,
nitpick.
the one thing I will say for people that are curious about it is that working with people that are not appointed to the committee allows us to access a lot of outside expertise
Mm,
and involve interested parties in the community and
right,
what we're doing.
right.
They are not considered to be members of the ERC, nor are they considered to be members of any of the subcommittees. But they can help the subcommittees with the projects that they're working on, and they can provide inputs to us that we might not otherwise think of ourselves. I will say that we've got people working with us on the Twin Lakes project that have been very helpful. And of course, John Wells has been a great help on the shoaling study. So I think this will work very well for us going forward in the future. And it allows people that don't want to become members of the ERC with the chance to participate in what we're doing on a part-time basis. So are there any questions from the committee about our rules or new rules or responsibilities? Second item is working with experts and interested resident and non-resident taxpayers. I think we've pretty
Right,
much
right.
covered that. Next item are the subcommittee discussions. The climate subcommittee, verbal report. I think we pretty much covered it all in the presentations.
Right.
And we'll continue to stay focused on the study in Jinks Creek and Tubbs Inlet. And Twin Lakes is the next subcommittee. Mila, do you want to?
Thank you. So we're a new subcommittee from the ERC Twin Lakes subcommittee. So I'd like to give a little bit of a background. So most people, residents and visitors of Sunset Beach are probably very familiar with the Twin Lakes. If you drive on Shoreline Drive towards Calabash, there is the observation deck where tons of cars congregate and watch birds and alligators. And Twin Lakes is, the whole area is one of the most scenic parts of the mainland, Sunset Beach. It comprises of 65 acres, and there are two lakes. There are two lakes, East and West Lakes. They attract a lot of visitors and birders. The important part is that the lakes are located on the North Carolina Birding Trail, and according to the North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission, they're extremely important to the conservation of several threatened species, and they provide critical habitat for many other species. But they're also very important to the town's stormwater retention management plan. Unfortunately, the lakes are shallow. The nature of them is shallow, and therefore they're susceptible to invasive species infestation, such as water hyacinth, alligator weed, and others. And over time, the invasive plants contribute to excessive sediment and oxygen depletion. And that negatively impacts native plants, reduces biodiversity, adversely alters habitats, and also potentially poses health dangers to the public. So bearing that in mind, the Environmental Resource Committee requested the Town Council that they approve our participation in town's conservation efforts of the Twin Lakes. And on March 4th, the town of Sunset Beach Town Council unanimously approved the ERC's requests to be involved in the Twin Lakes conservation efforts by providing research from scientific community to determine a baseline, problems confronting the lakes now and in the future, and helping to find appropriate solutions. To set up an ERC Twin Lakes subcommittee to research the availability of and requirements for grants specific to the conservation of the Twin Lakes, to investigate grants for research graduate programs to study the Twin Lakes, and to provide town council and town staff with advice and input on best practices for lake maintenance and conservation. So following that, on March 20th, 24, the ERC formed the Twin Lakes Subcommittee, consisting now of John Farrell, Candace Sieben, and Mila Millman. And so as for the new rules for the ERC, during its research, the Twin Lakes Subcommittee may work with various experts in the field, as well as interested and concerned taxpayers of the town to provide advice and input. So we had our first meeting on April 6th, and we created a draft action plan, as well as identified responsible parties for the initial data collection phase. We're very grateful to Steve Hines for his contribution to the plan development. So I'd like to present this draft to your for your consideration. So we're looking at kind of three-part plan. Two of them are going to be simultaneous. So the first phase is the data collection and assessment. We need to know what's happening with the lakes, or what we're doing with the lakes. So therefore, we're trying to establish a baseline of the current Twin Lakes status and maintenance program. Request information from the provider about the most recent water testing, list of invasive and noxious species currently present in the lakes, treatments, methodology, and schedule, targeted species, and desired outcomes and results. Review maintenance reports from the previous service provider, so that's been going on for years, and compare that and present it to the town for information. Contact the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, Division of Water Resources, which is the lead agency responsible for protecting the quality of North Carolina groundwater and surface water, to request potentially water sampling services, and the same request may be from the Brunswick County Agricultural Extension to request maybe their alternative testing. So that's part one, data collection and outreach. Part two, we need to identify resources. Identify available North Carolina federal and grants for lakes research and conservation projects, funding, establish grant relevance, deadlines, and application process requirements. Secondly, identify interested parties in the academic community, as well as North Carolina and federal environmental agencies to collaborate in the analysis of the lake's problems and find appropriate solutions for their conservation, and consider potential participation of graduate program research. Engage competent members of the local community in assisting the ERC with research and project coordination. So after all that is done, we would present the ERC research findings to the Sunset Beach Town Council, and if we go that way, assist the town staff in grants application process. So as Steve mentioned in discussions, a lot of it also needs to be explained to the public, because a lot of these worsening conditions of the lakes are due to the fertilizer being dumped in the lakes. So we need to have like education outreach program with homeowners along the lakes, with the golf courses, and any parties that might be contributing negatively to the infestation by aquatic weeds. So that's all I have.
I thought it was great.
Thank you.
I was going to mention Oyster Bay, the golf course. Golf courses dump tons of chemicals. They flow into the water. And you covered that. And then the road, oil and stuff coming off the road because it's right on the water.
There's been, as follow-up to the meeting that Mila mentioned, there's been a lot of contact with the town about the maintenance reports of the work that's been done in the past, and about the contractor who's doing the work for the town, what they plan to do for the future. Yesterday, Steve and I were invited to a meeting with the town staff to talk about these things. And what we learned is that the focus of maintenance work that's been done to date has been on the East Lake, which isn't perfect, but it's better than it's been in a while, and the assessment of most people. At the same time, though, there wasn't any work that was done on the West Lake. And the West Lake has continued to get worse. The algae problems there are pretty noticeable. But unfortunately, the town budget for this fiscal year has been used. The money's been used up. So there won't be money available to do work on the West Lake until the new fiscal year begins in July. The other thing that we learned, and anybody that has observed any of the budgeting meetings that have taken place online or in person, is that there's a lot of competition in town between the different communities within the town for the limited budget funds that are available. And candidly, people in Sea Trail and on the island object to funding for the Twin Lakes work. And but the council is trying to balance the interest of all the parties, and but it will set limits on the amount of money and the timing of the use of that money for some of the projects that have to be done. So we have support from a majority of the council to do some necessary work on the lakes, but we'll have to see how much work can be done and how effective it is. Experience tells us that it will take time. It's not something that's going to happen quickly. And it's taken a couple of years to get the East Lake to the condition that it's in now. And it's going to take some time to do the West Lake. But that work will begin in July. In the meantime, the town does have some money for engineering studies, and the contractor has begun an assessment of the West Lake, similar to the assessment that was done 10 years ago by Aquatico, to look at the water quality and to take samples of the different
That's good
weeds
news. That's great news.
and classify everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the data that we need to figure
Right.
out.
And that we really need that as
Yeah.
a baseline of
Yeah,
information
absolutely.
for any outreach we have to.
Absolutely.
To
I'm so
anybody.
glad to see that. Thank you for
So that work has begun, or will begin soon.
And they're talking about water quality of the lakes, I guess. Or I mean, it'd be good also. Do they look at the water quality of the intercoastal as well?
No.
Okay.
just
Would they do sampling of the East Lake as well, the species and the water, while they're doing West Lakes? Because
I think they're going to do both.
both. That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
The contractor doing the work is a company called Stillwater Pond and Lake Management. They are the successor to Aquatico, who did the work 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very highly regarded by the principal engineer at McGill Associates, who was the former owner of Aquatico. So I think we're in pretty good hands there. So he started his study work, and he'll have funding to begin the physical work in July, and we'll continue to follow the plan that we have.
Okay.
Okay.
John, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I did look at the website for Stillwater, and it does look like they have a big variety of services that they can provide for the lakes, and that was good to see. And it mentioned, and Stevie, tell me if I'm saying this wrong, bathymetry, that they can actually measure like the volume of the lakes. Do you know if they're planning to do that? Because I think that would have a big impact on some of the recommendations for instance, if one of the recommendations is to stock certain fish in there, what quantity there would be. But I didn't know if they're going to do that along with water quality.
I don't know. We can ask.
That would be helpful.
Now, in parallel with this, sometimes North Carolina agencies become interested in the lakes. Give you an example, because there were several alligator nests in the past 2 years on our properties, and the eggs were not fertilized. I'm not going to go into all the details, but the North Carolina Department of Wildlife came in and they put cameras for observation, and they were monitoring our properties. And one of the reasons that things happening with wildlife there or not happening might be the quality of the water and the present species, whatever. If any of these agencies decide to test on their own, I think that would be also very positive for our research and fact finding.
I guess my thought has been we'll get this baseline assessment from Stillwater, and then we'll be able to go out and talk to them and see what other assessments they'd be interested to do.
Okay.
Steve, do you have anything else then?
No, I just got the sense that they're going to be repeating the study that was done in 2014.
Right.
So
That's a great place to start. Just along those notes, and I'm glad Amy's here. Just one of the preliminary things I've heard is that in terms of slowing down the drainage, the fertilizers and lawn chemicals and everything else that's draining into those lakes, is that it would be helpful for people to install rain gardens. And it's a way of collecting some of that and slowing it down from going into the lakes. And there's going to be a rain garden class at the community center, I believe.
Well, one thing you just touched on something, Candace, that I was going to mention is what's called non-point sources, things like the fertilizer and sedimentation. Oils off the highway out there need to be taken into account too, and I think they'll look at that too, and how that's mitigated is a whole different story. Oils and grease off of vehicles, for example.
Well, yeah, to your point, I mean, with all the development, they clear cut all the trees, right? So all the water, every time it rains,
Yeah,
all these
sedimentation,
all the water from all the roads flows
Yeah.
into the ditches, into the lake.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And then like in Sea Trail, there was a lake by the front that all the birds were nesting, and I saw they were trimming and cutting and
Yeah.
and I'm like,
It's the same around Twin Lakes. There, where there used to be quite a few vacant lots. Everything, it's like everywhere else in town. There's not much left vacant anymore, and you lose some of those big trees, and I'm sure it's affecting the ability of the birds and things to nest there.
I
The
have
other
no
problem-
idea how. I'm sorry.
So-
How large the drainage area is that goes into the lake. I mean, I'm not familiar with that part of town, so I really don't know. But
Well, the problem is
trip.
also that the sediment contributes to
Take a
the
trip. Get over that.
rising level of the bottom. And remember during Ian, there was already flooding on your side. So if we have a huge hurricane, the water can go from intercoastal over the shoreline into the lakes and up.
Yeah.
So, and the lakes are getting shallower and shallower.
Well, they
Yeah.
can also come in from the Calabash River up around over the golf course.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not a simple, not a simple thing.
Believe
is
me,
it?
I remember sitting out there and watching it.
Are you on the West Lake, or?
I'm on
Well,
the
the
on the west
seagrass.
lake,
Yeah.
but we were
The
watching
seagrass.
where it could
But
come
you're
across the
elevated.
golf
Right.
course.
You're elevated over
A little
So
more,
it's
yeah.
seagrass.
Mhm.
I'm glad I'm not
All
down
right.
I
at the
took a
bottom.
class,
Mhm.
Well, interesting.
coastal
Well, it's good. Good.
Next,
blocks.
I
next
think we're
item.
making good progress, so we're off to a good start.
We're off to a good start. Next item is the Green Recycling Subcommittee. Is there any,
Well, I did get some material from the county, Keep Brunswick County Beautiful people, the koozies and bags. They don't have any magnets like I wish we'd had, and they cannot be here this week because it's the free dump week, and she's tied up with all that material. So, and I also have some brochures that you gave me the other day. I'm going to have trifolded with recycling information on it for the event Friday, and Amy's been very helpful. Oh, she just left.
is there,
On getting my post by do's and don'ts posted. So we'll see how it goes.
good.
The weather's going to be good too. Thank you, Amy.
I did that.
Yeah, thank you.
We haven't had very good success with weather in a couple of years.
Well, Mother Nature's going to do what it's going to do, you know.
Yeah. All right. Next item on the agenda is the Tree City USA. We put that on there as a reminder that there needs to be work done this year to allow the town to apply and be granted a recognition as a Tree City USA. We've tried it several years in a row and been unsuccessful. Now we know why, and we're going to fix it. But we need a new planning director to guide us along that way. And I noticed in the news today that the North Carolina Forestry group had just released a bulletin that lists all the communities in North Carolina that achieved Tree City USA status for 2023. So hopefully we can have Sunset Beach on there soon. All right, now we move on to public comments. We have the opportunity for anyone to speak. We'll give you 3 minutes to say what you would like to say, and we're not allowed to get into a discussion about it, but we'll be happy to hear what you have to say. So would you come up to the microphone and tell us your name and your address?
My name is Katrina Carter. I live at 515 Lakeshore Drive, Sunset Beach, which is in the Twin Lakes area. We've owned our property for 7 years, and we have never seen the problem like this on the West Lake. I know I've been coming here since '96. I've owned property here since 2001, and that's the first we've known about it at the East Lake's the first time we've seen it on the West Lake. And it's noticeable. I mean, in the space of a month, this has gone to like a third of the lake. Every day you see it developing. So one of the things that, and we've not seen any fish jumping, which normally at this time of year, you've got fish jumping left, right, and center and splashing everywhere. The alligators, which cruise up our backyard all the time, like in the water, haven't seen any of them for quite some time. The birds that are usually there, the wood storks, we haven't seen them this year. So there's already that big impact on the wildlife. So I don't know what your plan is when the fiscal year comes into place with in July, whether that is to commence the studies or that's to commence the treatment, because that lake's going to turn into a swamp pretty damn quickly. The other thing I'd say about it is most of our neighbors are very conscientious people, and we don't use chemicals. I mean, I know I don't. My neighbors, the next 3 doors down and 2 doors this way, we put nothing on our grass. Natural stuff, but nothing that's harmful. And I think a lot of the people that live on the lake are very conscientious about it. it would be horrible to see it not treated quickly because it won't take long for that to turn into a swamp. And like you said, when the debris sits on the bottom, it builds up, therefore the lake is shallow. I know there's been talk about some of the neighbors that I live by. We had always had a POA, and with the golf course involved as well, we paid, and what we paid for was nothing to do with the road because that's Sea Trail Road. Our POA money went purely on those lakes. And over those years, that's what we've been paying for. We've been paying for them to be treated. We've been paying for restocking of fish. And my understanding is that the town was bequeathed the lakes and the area around it a year and a half ago. So our POA we haven't done anything with the lakes for the last year because we were told we were no longer responsible for those lakes, that we couldn't contribute to them. And it's in that time that we've seen such a change come through. I know there are neighbors in my area that are willing to pay POA money again to get those lakes treated quickly and to get something done with them. So if there's no fiscal money available for treating in July, I mean, the rate it's going, there will be no fish in that lake by the middle of the summer because there'll be no oxygen, and with the heat, they're just going to fry. And the alligators, the same thing. We're destroying their habitats, and this was a place they could go and be safe. They're going to go too. And where are they going to go? They're going to go out, and they're going to go into neighborhoods where people aren't going to be very happy that they've arrived. So it's something we would like to ask to be considered, that if there was no fiscal money to actually start the work on treating it in July, if there is an allowance that the residents around those lakes could again do what we did, collect money and pay to get it treated urgently. So that's just my comment. If there's work that needs to be done with the community, I would be happy to help. And I know there's a couple of my neighbors that would also step up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Sound like you're British. You British? Got a neighbor from
Katrina,
Brit.
can you stay later after the meeting? Thank you.
Is there any other comments? This is open.
Again, this would probably relate to the lakes.
Can you give us
Oh,
your
sure.
name?
Lynn Neesmith, Nesmith, and I live on Lakeshore Drive East, 210 Lakeshore Drive East. The lawns are a terrible source of fertilizer all over the town, and the town mandates that you cannot have a natural landscape. And I've been trying for 8 years now to have the town look at Ordinance 93.01, which mandates private homeowners to bush hog any native landscapes down to the ground. So I just think allowing private landowners to not have lawns and not have chemicals, and allowing them to have a natural landscape, which is 10 times better than a man-made rain garden. It's God's rain garden. And why in the world the town won't allow private homeowners to do whatever they can individually? I have over an acre, and I would love to be a natural resource, but I'm not allowed to. I'm forced to bush hog 2 times a year, and I don't want to. I want to keep native plants, native ground covering. Wildflowers are not allowed. Ground covering is not allowed. Native wax myrtles must be pruned a certain way. It's just unbelievable that the town, for 8 years, I've been trying to get them to allow native landscaping and trees. So that's it.
Thank you, Lynn. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, Cindy.
My name is Cindy Levine. I own 1834 East Main Street in Palm Cove, and I just wanted to acknowledge the work that you guys are doing and say that I appreciate all that you're doing. I know that it's a big task that you're taking on, and I'm speaking for myself, not for Palm Cove, but it has felt at times that we're out on an island by ourselves. And so I realize that we're still very separate, and I'm not trying to allude to anything different, but I appreciate the work that you're doing. The only question and I wanted to just also say that when we've been at town council before, one of the things that we've struggled to I guess make clear is that even though very much so that the Palm Cove residents are dealing with erosion, that a lot of the things that are happening there are affecting lots of other people other than just the 10 lot owners. That there are lots of people that enjoy Jinks Creek boating and the beach, and navigation has been a big issue that we've been trying to make clear that it's not just individual issues. It's a big town issue as well. So anyways, I just wanted to say that. And I wondered, you said that, and I know this is all kind of new, but that right now you guys are just keeping an eye on things with the erosion of the westwardness. And is there, of the inlet, is there a time or what is the red line of when that matters to the town?
We can talk about that in our meeting after here, but
Okay.
it's not now. It's all
No, and I'm not worried about it. I mean, I am worried about it now, but I just wondered if there was, if you guys had thought globally too of when does it start to matter? Anyways, thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for